So the Holy Spirit leads with strategy and creativity. So with that being said, we all know that God does not bless no mess. He does not bless any type of mess now. So he does not lead in chaos. There is order, there is structure. God sends strategy. There's a plan. There's a way of doing things. And also with creativity, you do not get your creativity just from your own spark and your own balling of your fists and hard thinking. No, you are giving these things. The Holy Spirit nudges you. God places these things in you. He lets you see things. He lets you go places. He lets you get inspired by things to where you eventually get to where he wants you to, where he wants you to be and what he wants you to do. So he gives you the vision, and once he gives you the vision, then he gives you a strategy, he gives you a plan, he gives you a way of doing things. So it's like when you get the vision, you write it down, then you write the steps that needed for it to be, for each part of that vision to be done when you break it down. And then once you do that, then God sends the creativity of what he wants you to do. One thing I had learned while in the career that I am in, which is event planning and design, is that it's none of that I had to let it flow. I just, on a whim, I used to say that, but everything is with intention, everything is with purpose. And when my mindset had shifted with that, then I was able to even flow more. It was just amazing. So one day I realized, and I was telling my people that design with me, and I was saying about how we have the same centerpieces. So we have we had so many selective pieces for a while, and it just amazes how it transformed. And we did over 500 events. It transformed to something else, and transformed to something else, and transformed to something else. That is not my capacity. That is not my capacity. That is the capacity of the Lord. That is the capacity of a creator, the ultimate designer. And so more and more of me wanting and having the desire of standing on a rock, being on a foundation where systems can be created, where I'm able to follow structure. My clientele are able to follow structure. Things are having an order, and it having less risk of things being chaotic or receiving a clientele that is not for me and for my business. So another focus question. So first we got the vision. Second, the Holy Spirit leads strategy and creativity. And then third, we stop leaning on our own understanding. And that is a big one. When you are a creator, when you are someone who works with your hand, and when we're making a plan, we just be so set on, this is what I'm going to do. A, B, C, D. Like I had a G in there, it's all right. But A, B, C, D, E, F. G on standby. But it has to go the way I want it to go. When I've gotten over that mindset, it shifted for me, because now you're able to adapt. You're detachable now. Now you're able to adapt. Now you're able to bend and turn and pivot. And when you're a follower of Christ, that is so important. You have to know how to bend. You have to know how to turn. You have to know how to when to pivot, when to depart, when to let go. You know, that is so important, because when you're stuck on your understanding, when you're stuck on your math, the problem always seems like it just never gets solved, or it just be seem harder, right? But if you're at the season where, hey, I want my business to be on foundation, on solid rock, where it doesn't, when the storm comes, when it's time for low season, low peak seasons, or when it's time for when it's time for things that's just out of your control happening in your life, because life's still gonna happen to you as a business owner. It doesn't stop, right? So when those things happen, you're like, hey, I want my house to still be sturdy. I want my house to still be standing and not be wishy-washy and not be blown down during these times where it's most challenging for me as a business owner, plus as a parent, plus as a wife, plus as a sister, a friend, other obligations that we do face, that because we do um, carry those same hats of life as anyone else who's working a traditional job, right? So we have to make sure we are on that rock. So leaning on our own understanding is easier said than done, because with the flesh wants control. Like we want control. Like we'll give a little inkling of we'll give you a little bit, but certain things we still want to have reins on. And when following God, we have to let go of those reins. We have to let go of that horse's bit, and then we have to let God lead. And it is a daily challenge. It is a daily of crucifying yourself and following Him. And it's an emotional roller coaster. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. Is it doable? Yes. Right? Because of what you get at the end is priceless. What you get at the end is priceless. And say, what do we get at the end? You get to live in a place that was put up for you with no worries, no stress. You're going to be rewarded for your obedience. You're going to be rewarded for you following Him and crucifying, denying yourself. So your creativity led by the Holy Spirit. So that leads with, like, say for instance, in the career field that I am in, I am customer based, right? So as in my career, I have to, when a client comes to me, they give me all the all the good details, all the details, who, what, when, how, where, and we discuss all of these elements that they desire for their event. But even then, when I am listening to what they're envisioning for their event, I am thinking about, Lord, is this client for me? Should I take up on this client? Or even when it comes down to the design, Lord, you know what we discussed. Lead me, Holy Spirit, guide me as I think about what would best stand out. What would make it wow? I always like to, what would be the wow? What would be the piece that would exceed the expectation of that client, those type of things. So me consulting, me stepping back, and even as me stepping back and saying and having this meeting, having this design meeting, having this board meeting with God. Because at first, when I first got into business, I'm the owner, I'm the CEO, but as I'm maturing spiritually and learning things about, finances, proper stewardship, it has shifted. I'm not CEO. I don't own this business. I steward. I'm manager. I'm his administrative assistant. I am chief steward officer. I'm not CEO. And once that shifted, I'm able to go and say, hey, I'm gonna get back with you on that. Hey, I need to go talk to, and I need to go talk and have a meeting with the owner, things of that nature. So, and that has helped me when I am moving forward in my business, because the goal is everlasting. The goal is longevity. The goal is success and true riches and wealth, right? So you need to follow the one that has all the true riches and knows where all the wealth is, right? So those are our focus questions. Our focus statements. God gave us the vision. We're led by the Holy Spirit, which is going to give us a strategy and a creativity. And we must not lean on our own understanding, be open minded, so that we can be guided and directed properly. So in John 16, I'm going to read that 13th verse. It says, how about when he, the spirit of truth, is come, he will guide you into all truth, for he shall not speak of himself, but whatsoever he shall hear, that he shall speak, and he will show you things to come. So the Holy Spirit is there, is placed within us to speak the truth. He, when we invite him in, so he always shows up at the right time. You know, it's like we prayed before we got into our word tonight. We invited him in so we can have a better understanding of the message, be able to receive. That's the same way you do in your business. Um, it's the same way you do in your business. You console, you invite him in, you invite Jesus in, and the Trinity. You invite it into your business, and the game is set. The play is ready to be executed. Okay, so in that verse, it's a journey of trusting. And again, it's one of those things that is easier said than done. Easier said than done, but it is one that has the ability to be done. Now, how I associate another part of this Kingdom Creators Group is that me using the gift that was given to me to share it among and teach it amongst others. So the gift of eventing and the gift of balloon designing is what the participants often would get to engage in when we are meeting face to face. But I also correlated to what we are talking about, whether you have a balloon business or any other type of business, but the bottom line is focusing on the rock, focusing on the foundation. So let's talk about styling and creative concepts. Again, when you're building or you are creating in your business, and say for instance, custom theme install. When clients come to me, again, we do balloon design installation. When client comes to me, they have a certain theme in mind. You might have seen some theme balloons for seasonal, or it could be for birthday, it can be for sport like baseball, basketball, or it can be for a certain holiday, whatever the case may be. The client comes with all of their ideas floating around in the air, and you, as being a professional, they are looking at you to and entrusting you to bring those down and to put them together, bring them together, so that to execute and complete their vision. Whether you have to do some type of suggestions, recommendations, so some visuals, but you're talking about the styling and the creative concepts, what you're going to do when designing their piece of work for their event. So with that custom theme installed, depending on the order and the system of your business, when you're doing it, some professionals do mock-ups as well, where they may show a visual and vice versa. The client may show you some visuals that they like, and you take those key points from those pictures, and then you see what they most liked about it, and you get your inspiration from it. So, as a reflection, are your ideas spiritually led or pressure driven? Spiritually led or pressure driven? Again, your ideas do not come from you. Ideas that are spiritually led, that you have been given inspiration, you have purposely, found your calling, your skills, your gift. Now, other pressure-driven things, like you might be in need of money, and you looking for ways to make money, to make a few dollars, and you see, oh, maybe eventing or maybe ballooning is making a good amount of money. Maybe venue rental is making a good amount of money. That may be the case, but it might not be for you. That might not be your calling. Your calling. So we have to be careful with making sure that the ideas that we are taking upon are given by God, and because we can get into something where it wasn't given by God and he's not funding it and you're not making the money and it's not going as smoothly or it's not going as planned, right? And you're in a big mess that now you praying to get yourself up out of, versus somebody who um was being obedient where they follow what the plans of God, that follow the plans of God that they probably never even thought of that they would be doing in a million years, and their business is going well because when God give you the idea, He's gonna fund it. He's gonna fund that business. He's gonna send those clientels. So that's one of the ways that you can see, well, okay, am I doing the right thing? Was this career, was this job, or whatever you're doing at the moment, was it because of my flesh? Was it because I just wanted to do something because everybody else doing something, but everybody else has a business, or I wanted to do it because it was God led? So that's something you must think about before you even get into a space where you're moving forward, because you don't want to move out of alignment. That's my thing. I do not want to move out of alignment, because you know how long either you wait until God spin that block, or you in that long ride, you gotta go the long way. Oh my. So I'm like, a daily prayer be, Lord, please don't let me step out on my own impulsive movement, because I'm being impatient, because I'm thinking like, oh, I don't have enough time left. And one of the things I've learned in business, if it's something where you're being rushed, it is something where they can't understand, hold up, I'm going to have to come back to there, and I need to consult my business partner. I need to follow up on some things. If it's something where they just give you ultimatum, and that's not from God. That's not God led. That is a way the devil trying to get you into a counterfeit before that real blessing show up in your life. So we got to watch out for that. We got to watch out for that, for them wolves. All right. So are your ideas spirit led, or is it pressure driven? That's great to reflect on. So up under this notion of creativity is led by the Holy Spirit. What we have learned out of John chapter 16 verses 13 out of King James Version, that the Holy Spirit would guide us in all truth, and he would speak not of himself, but he would speak of what God has asked him to speak when the times come, when the appropriate time is. So it's all about God's timing, but we must invite him in. We must be connected. We must stay prayed up. We must read his word, and so that we can be able to hear the voice. We must have order in our life. We must have times where we're able to slow down, where we're able to hear him, because you're not going to be hearing them in the chaos. You're not going to be hearing them when you run around. You're not going to be hearing them, your schedule just full to the max. If you always on go, you have to make the time so you can be able to hear. If you're stagnant, if you're like your creativity is blocked, you need to make the time so that you can be able to hear, and so that you can be able to unblock those channels. But you have to be connected. You have to be spiritually connected. So I thank you for listening to Kingdom Creators, Faith, Business, and Balloons. And I would see you and hear you and talk to you at the creative table in our next episode.